So it looks like we are in the gym. What Pokemon do I have? We're leading with Sephiroth. Bulbasaur needs to be healed. I am going to find a Poke Center. Oh, we're in Goldenrod City. Okay. So I don't really know what to talk about right now. I know we had been interested in doing something akin to the last series where we were going to share our opinions on the records by seminal pop and rock band, the Beatles. But I've been thinking about that because I know that. Ooh, maybe a train's gonna come. Oh, oh. I'll just wait for the train. Okay. Anyway, have we beaten this gym yet? Do we even have access to a fighting type? Oh my gosh. A Sprout. Sprout is still a Bellsprout. When does Bellsprout evolve to Leaping Bell? But yeah, no, I was just thinking about that. Because I think I'm more interested in this identity of the Beatles as this band that supposedly everyone knows. Because I don't... We should train Plant. I might just go train Plant. Come on, Plant. Let's go train. That is make you strong, Plant. You must beat the other plants. I don't... It's interesting to me that there's this band that the world holds up as being the band, you know? And that's still the case, even as music becomes a little more, I don't know, democratized. It's not so singular. But even in that environment, so dude. They're still held up as this band that is like, you have to have an opinion on the Beatles, and I find it crazy that that's still an expectation that people have. Because I don't think we live in an environment where everyone actually knows the Beatles. This was a bad pick. Bulbasaur. We're doing that thing where half our team's strong and the other half is pathetic, and I need to fix that. But yeah, we're in a situation. I don't think we can really point to. I don't think the Beatles are in that position where they are this universal band. Now that I think about it, I don't like. Case in point, my girlfriend grew up. She grew up in a refugee family, and they don't listen to the Beatles. She didn't listen to the Beatles as a kid. She doesn't know any songs except for the ones I show her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, come check out A Day in the Life. There's this verse about combing your hair, and it's so cool. But, yeah, she's not someone who can speak to this. She's not in a part of this universal sphere of Beatles lovers. Or even, yeah, even in that situation, not everyone loves the Beatles. Like, the reason I took so long to get into them is because my parents openly hate them. So it's like, well, if I didn't have this like split second of interest, I wouldn't listen to the Beatles. I'd probably be listening to like 80s rock bands and those 90s country songs about living life to your fullest, drinking beer and around a fireplace, or I don't even, it's been a while. It's bad rock music, as Tom Petty said. But yeah, so it's like I don't So I know we wanted to talk about the Beatles in this. I know that the plan was that we were going to have like this ranking of Beatles records that we were going to do, and I don't know if that was this run or the next one. I've been out of touch, but I just find it interesting that I don't. Oh no, I am lay scared. Don't you tail whip me. Put that away. Um, yeah, I don't. It's just it's an interesting. They have an interesting place. Oh, they have an interesting place, I think, in the cultural lexicon, and I think it's almost a. Oh my God, I'm catching this ditto. Plant. Cut. Good job, plant. Oh no, it knows my attacks. But yeah, it's just like it's not a. I don't think it. I don't. Where was I? I had a point that I wanted to make, and I don't remember what it was. Get out of here with Second Life from Williston. Screw you. Screw you. But like, they're interesting because I don't know if there's a rock band, at least as far as pop music goes. I don't think there's a band that's more important musically, but in the same run, I don't know. I think the image that people have of the Beatles is almost more interesting than the Beatles themselves, than the music the Beatles made. Because I mean, think about it. Like, why? There are kids that are like, there are kids who are wearing like Beatles shirts they buy at Walmart and notebooks and who kids who are born 50 years after the Beatles did their thing that will, they'll know Octopus's Garden, they'll know Come Together. I mean, there's still stuff, they're still playing Come Together and things like that in trailers and things like that. But on the same note, I think it's increasingly like, I almost wonder if it's increasingly singular, this world where people do know who the Beatles are and stuff. And because like again, my girlfriend from a refugee family, they don't know the Beatles. They don't listen to the Beatles. There are people I know who grew up in city areas. They don't listen to the Beatles or anything like that. I think it's kind of wrong to assume people just suddenly know the Beatles and have opinions on them. And it's interesting that this is an assumption people have, is that, oh, you know the Beatles, you've heard Yellow Submarine. Ooh. We'll keep this relevant. He played the drums. He's not even the best drummer in the band, but he likes drums. He just wants to have fun with the other Beatles. He wrote a song about an octopus in a garden. But like, it's just interesting. It's all really interesting to me that this is still like, because we're, especially today, I don't think we're in a situation where we're in an environment where it's a guarantee that people are going to know who the Beatles are. But the people that are exposed to that environment are going to be hyper aware of their existence. I mean, so like that Justice League commercial with that cover of Come Together is the first thing that came to my mind, but it's not the only thing here, nor is it even the biggest thing. But outside of that, you go to the local grocery store in small town America, and because they only play agreeable music, you're going to hear something like Here Comes the Sun. You're going to hear Twist and Shout. Like, my dad is a big... you'll go to like these little community movie events, and they'll be showing popular movies from when your parents were young. So my dad will go to these things and watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and the Twist and Shout's in there, and that's like a cultural touchstone for him. And I don't know, you hear something, you hear like that Kubo and the Two Strings movie that came out. It ended with a cover of "Oh My Guitar Gently Weeps." Things like it's still this expectation. There's still this band that people are going to go to even to reinvent that sound, but they're still going to use that bass song. And it's interesting that it's. I don't think there's a band that is placed in a more particular. I don't think there's a band that holds that place in the cultural lexicon ever. But I also think it's interesting that we're increasingly in a place where people aren't going to grow up with a television and be watching these things and be listening for like, oh, it's that one George Harrison song, or man, they played John Lennon's Imagine, especially today. I don't know how much John Lennon songs are going to get by in the era of Me Too, but like, I don't know, I know I'm rambling right now, but they're not going to be in an environment where they hear that stuff. Like my younger brother, I think if I asked him, hey, what's your favorite? Well, I guess we're going to use this as a catch monster. Okay. But he's not going to be able to name Beatles songs off the top of his head, nor is that even a thing like that he'll be expected to know. I know these are rambly thoughts, but they're thoughts that have been kind of following me every time that we've talked about the Beatles lately. And like I have my Beatles opinions, of course. When I first started branching out into music, when I first started learning about music, they were like my first big touchstone. They were the first band I think I found entirely on my own. As weird as that sounds, as weird as it is that this is this huge band that everyone knows, they're the first one that I had to go out of my way to really listen to and develop an interest in. And so I have my personal connections to that. I have my nostalgia. I have my favorite songs. I have my least favorite songs. I have my favorite records. Very, very partial to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, to Abbey Road, and to Rubber Soul, which I'm pretty sure are the three that people normally say are the best. But like, I don't know if it's fair to assume that people are going to have that same kind of connection anymore, and I don't think it's fair to assume that people are just going to have those opinions these days. I know this isn't a criticism against Supreme God Overlord Tucker's idea that we do our ranking for the Beatles records. This is me not knowing whether or not we're going to actually rank them, or whether or not that was this turn. But it's just it's an interesting question to me, and I do think a part of it is even its cultural backgrounds. I think it's a very white millennial / boomer thing to have favorite Beatles songs, and I don't know if that's a universal rule. Or I don't know, because the other part of that is you can go overseas and you'll hear these songs. I heard these songs in Vietnam, for God's sake. I heard these songs in China, for God's sake. It's just, it isn't that limited, but on the same note, it's hello, practice battle. Looks like I have a minute left, and this is what I'll leave you with. But on the same note, I do think there are those demographic lines. I think it's a middle class thing to have a favorite Beatles song. I think it's definitely a middle class thing. But I don't know. Let's see if I can at least knock out this Hobbit before my timer runs out in 30 seconds. I realize I didn't answer any questions. I feel like I rambled this entire time. I feel like this isn't the place for it either, but Plant got that much XPs? Yeah, I'm gonna leave him with something special here. How much time do I have left? 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Oh, he's an actual Bulbasaur. I should have brought out a real Bulbasaur. No!